So I told Rebel about it, and they weren't too happy, and they said, no, we don't want that. And they told me that they didn't want me doing things like that were going to be antagonistic, right? And so I just decided that I wasn't really happy working for Rebel Media anymore. And I said, okay, I'm going to go confront Hillary. And if they fire me, they fire me, right? They fire me, they fire me. Okay. And I just decided that day when I released the video, it blew up so much. I was on Fox, and then InfoWars liked it, and InfoWars offered me a correspondent job. And so they were going to pay me to start doing more videos like this, right?
Yeah.
Not full time, but they wanted to send me $5,000 for my video. So I thought, great, right? I'm going to make some money, and I could just go do this and make money.
Yeah, that's $5,000 per hit. That covers your trip plus everything.
Exactly.
I mean, that's net. Like
and
you
so
netting
then I just
$4,000.
resigned. I just resigned from Rebel.
Okay. And then where did it go from there?
So basically, I started doing all my little Loomer videos, and I started traveling the country and investigating things. And on my PayPal, I set it up so that people could support my work and they could donate to me. And I just started traveling all over. I was in Minnesota. I was in Las Vegas. First, I went to Las Vegas to expose the Las Vegas terrorist attack. And I was on the ground breaking stories. And there's an entire chapter in my book called What Happened in Vegas. And, you know, I really cracked the case open.
I want to get into that next. Yeah. So the Vegas thing is what you got into right after the Hillary book signing. That was like the next big Loomer thing that you did?
Yeah, because the Hillary book signing was, I believe, September, because the book came out September 12th. So it was supposed to come out September 12th, and that was the anniversary of Benghazi. And so everybody was like, wow, how crazy is she for releasing her book date on the anniversary of Benghazi?
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, it is sick, isn't it?
Really sick. But I mean, what else would you expect from the Clintons at this point?
Right. And then, of course, the October 1 Las Vegas shooting happened October 1. And then I spent a lot of time in Vegas investigating that. So as soon as the Las Vegas shooting happened, I flew out to Vegas.
So walk me through, like, you weren't in Vegas when the shooting happened, right?
No, I was in New York.
So when things like that happen, like say like just like it broke, where were you? What were you doing? Did you you got a call and were like, okay, Vegas shooting went down. I just need to be on a flight. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to head there and just try to break stories because it's such a massive story? Or how did that, like, how did it play out?
Yeah, so the Vegas shooting happened and I thought to myself, oh my God, this was ISIS, right? This looks like a Bataclan attack, and I thought this was ISIS. And I had always known that months prior, ISIS was threatening to attack Las Vegas. And this was the very beginning of the Trump administration, and so it took a little while, right, for Trump to get ISIS under control. And then there was a report from Israeli intelligence that came out on Twitter, right? And it was sent to me, and I had it translated. And they had received notice that ISIS was actually celebrating this attack as being done by one of their own. And then immediately the FBI said, no, it's not ISIS. Well, how would you know if you hadn't done an investigation, right? Bodies were still on the ground. And ISIS doesn't take responsibility for attacks that they're not responsible for.
So run me through, can you tell us the story in like a timeline manner? So like the attack happened on what date? And then
October 1, 2017 is when the attack happened. And then...
When did you get the report?
Well, I was up all night. The report came out that night.
Oh, that same night. Okay,
yeah,
so
ISIS
same night.
was bragging about it. So hours after the attack, they were putting out on their official airwaves that they were responsible for the attack.
And then the FBI tried to say that it wasn't,
yeah,
tried to
while there were
defend
still
ISIS?
bodies on the ground, and they were saying, no, it wasn't ISIS, it wasn't ISIS. How do you know if you haven't done an investigation yet?
Wow.
And it's because, you know, as my investigation showed, Stephen Paddock, who they said was the shooter, right? He was like a double agent with the FBI, and ISIS said that he was one of their own. And so I think it was a double agent situation gone wrong, where it was a gun running operation, kind of like a Fast and Furious style operation, right? Where the FBI was trying to intercept guns with the cartels. But in this case, instead of the cartels, it was ISIS terrorists who came in through the Mexican border.
What happened with those emails that they leaked on WikiLeaks last week that said that the Saudi prince was in the penthouse, and that was supposed to be like a distraction because they were supposed to assassinate him, and the shooting was just a cover so that they could assassinate the prince? Did that not happen? Was that misinformation?
Well, there was a lot of speculation about that, right? Because they said that the Saudi owned the top level of that Mandalay Bay hotel. And there was speculation about whether or not it was some type of assassination plot, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, right, you had ISIS terrorists that came out and they took responsibility for it.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you go, okay, I'm going to book my flight to Vegas. I need to go report on this?
So I had a really large Twitter following at the time, and this was prior to me being banned. And I was getting tips from people who worked at Mandalay Bay, who had followed me for years on Twitter. And they said, oh my God, it's really weird. The FBI were already checked in here days before the shooting happened. There were FBI agents all over. And there was someone that worked in valet there that gave me the valet receipts, right, for Stephen Paddock, and that showed that his girlfriend at the time, a woman by the name of Mary Lou Danley, was the last person to park their car in valet or to turn it in. And the feds had said that she was out of the country at the time of the shooting, even though her ID was found in the room.
Wife or companion was not in the United States at the time. Has she returned to the United States? Do we know anything about any contact that authorities may have had with her?
There's this whole cover-up, yeah.
So at what point did you get on a flight?
3 days after.
3 days after?
Yeah.
So by the time you had got to Vegas, what was the story that the FBI was trying to convince the world that happened?
So they were trying to convince people that Stephen Paddock was just like a lone wolf, a 63-year-old man that carried out that shooting by himself. They said that they didn't know how he got those guns up there, right? And they were just saying that that it was not ISIS, even though ISIS kept on taking responsibility multiple times. They wouldn't release any of the security footage or show us any of the security footage. They wouldn't tell us the motive. And then when I realized it was a cover-up, I had receipts from the check-in that showed that Stephen Paddock had checked in on the 25th of September.
Which was 5 days before the shooting?
Yeah. They said that he checked in on the 28th, the FBI, when the receipts actually showed he checked in on the 25th.
And this is of October, correct?
Yes. No, September.
Okay.
It was September because the shooting was October 1st.
Okay. So there was only, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure if there was 31 days in the month.
So I caught them lying, and I brought the receipts to their press conference, and I said, why are you lying about the timeline? You know that he checked in on the 25th, so why are you saying he checked in on the 28th?
And were they, in your book, it sounded like you were actually, like they were holding like a real press conference.
Yeah, they were holding an actual press conference.
And you were like Laura Loomer, like shouting over them, and they're like, this isn't how we do business or something.
Exactly.
Tell me that whole story.
It was in I have it on video.
So tell me, you got to this press conference, like walk us through like how it went down.
So I got to the press conference at the LVMPD headquarters, okay? And you had the FBI there as well, and they were taking questions. And he said, yes, Mr. Paddock checked in on September 28th, and you know, we don't know what the motive is. He was alone in the room. And I said, I brought the receipts with me. And during the Q&A, after he got done answering another reporter's question, he wasn't going to call on me, right? Because I think he knew who I was because I had been tweeting about him nonstop about how this didn't seem right.
Okay, I don't want to get in. I appreciate what you're saying, Ken.
That have been obtained from the valet security system.
Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay? If I'm presented with a question,
because the FBI has reported
that's not how I conduct press conferences, ma'am.
Has the official timeline changed? Because
Please stop asking your question. There's a decorum that we have here, and I will finish Mr. Ritter's question.
And I just said, yeah, I have receipts from, Mandalay Bay that show that Paddock checked in on the 25th. Why are you lying about the timeline, and when are you going to correct it? And you would have thought that I shot someone in that room because the FBI officer looked at me and then looked at the other people to try to escort me out. And then there was this whole media campaign to make it seem like I was some kind of crazy, kooky conspiracy theorist, right? And then days later, he had to come out and change the timeline and say that he checked in on the 25th, not the 28th.
So what happened in that 2-day window? From like when the press conference, did they escort you out of there?
Yeah, I was banned from attending all future LVMPD press conferences.
All what? Say that one more time. Las Vegas
all
Police Department?
All future LVMPD, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
And they can do that. How can they ban a journalist?
They can't, but that's what was so crazy about this, right? They banned me, and I was the one that was breaking all the stories about it.
So these are the stories that I think more people need to hear about. Like when journalists are breaking stories, like if we don't have laws that prevent police departments from doing things like that, we need to start putting in laws that prevent them from doing things like that. So like as this all comes crashing down, if we have the opportunity to rebuild it back, we need to really focus on stories like this because this is how the corruption's they've been able to get away with the corruption for so long.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. Obviously, I think anybody that's watching this is going to believe your story and know that there's more to this story of the Vegas shooting.
Well, and they wouldn't even release the footage, right? They wouldn't even release the security footage. The media, the mainstream media had to sue in order to get this footage. And even then, they still don't have it all. They tried sealing all of the documents and the reports, and they wouldn't release their official report to the public. Biggest cover-up in U.S. history.
How many people lost their lives that day?
A lot. Worst mass shooting in U.S. history. So it was about 58 people, but hundreds more were injured. There were people that had post-traumatic stress disorder. They fell, they got trampled, some of them were shot, and then, now they have lifelong injuries, but hundreds of people were injured, and you had about 58 people that lost their lives.
So tell us the story of like what they said happened. There was supposed to be one shooter from a window. So he shot out a window and then was like, what story was he at?
He was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay building.
He was on the
Mandalay Bay.
32nd floor opening fire down into like a massive crowd of people, correct?
That's what they said.
This is the Las Vegas Shooter's Suite. It's called the Vista Suite, and it's a spacious 1,700 square feet with a wraparound view overlooking the Vegas Strip. Somehow, Stephen Paddock sneaked in 23 guns in 10 pieces of luggage without housekeeping ever raising a red flag. We're also learning more about how the massacre was staged. This illustration shows how Paddock opened fire into the crowd at the 15-acre concert site below, using a two-legged bipod and a gun platform. The killer used a device like this that turns his semi-automatic weapon into a rapid-fire killing machine, as seen in this YouTube video.
Did any of the autopsy reports corroborate the angle of this gun? Because I've heard stories that there was no, like, people didn't see any gun flashes coming from this magic window.
So that's another thing that happened. I broke the story too about how they weren't doing full autopsies on all of the victims, because they just assumed that they were all homicide victims. And why wouldn't they do full autopsies? Because then they would see multiple bullet casings, which would indicate multiple shooters. And everybody knew that there were multiple shooters, but the media and the LVMPD and FBI said there was only one shooter. So
there's possibly still another Vegas shooter that has not been arrested.
Yeah, they were ISIS terrorists. I don't believe that Stephen Paddock carried out that shooting.
So Stephen Paddock took his life in his hotel room.
No, Stephen Paddock was shot by ISIS terrorists in his room, and the ISIS terrorists are the ones that carried out this attack. Stephen Paddock was a double agent with the FBI who was embedded. Okay, it was a gun running operation for ISIS, and they killed him.
They found out he was a double agent. They took
The room was wired with baby monitor cameras.
September 25th, 2017, security camera footage captures Stephen Paddock arriving at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino 6 days before the attack. He's a high roller, a regular at the hotel.
He was a very typical guest. He was, in our estimation, the lowest risk type of individual.
No alarm bells going off.
Paddock checks into a suite on the 32nd floor, and he's given the VIP treatment, allowed to bring his luggage up through a service elevator. Over the course of his stay, he makes several trips to his house in Mesquite, Nevada, and brings in case after case after case of luggage. 21 suitcases in all, full of guns and ammunition. The investigation shows on October 1st, he orders room service and rigged surveillance cameras before he brings in a final batch of suitcases and locks himself in his room. That night at 9:40 p.m., Mandalay Bay security officer Jesus Campos is on a routine security check assigned to a room alarm on the 32nd floor.
This was the last call of my night.
You were heading home in your head.
In my head, I was home free after this.
He has no idea he's about to become an accidental hero on what would become one of the most horrific nights in American history. As shown in this rendering provided exclusively to ABC News by MGM, once on the 30th floor, he takes the stairs up to the 32nd, but he finds the exit door jammed. So he walks up to the elevator and takes it back down.
When did something seem off to you?
When I noticed the metal L bracket that was secured, that hold the door secured.
That bracket strategically placed there by a man staying in the suite just a few feet away.
I didn't know what was going on, just simply because that's not normal. I had to call our security dispatch. I was transferred to engineering dispatch.
As he walks back into the hallway to check that room alarm, turns out a nanny a few doors down left their door ajar. He hears a strange noise coming from the suite.
Thought it was drill noises.
The massacre has just begun. Across the street just moments before, Jason Aldean had taken the stage in the final night of the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Bullets rain down on the 22,000 concertgoers packed into the open-air venue.
That's just a firecracker.
I know, but why would you do that?
Confusion mixes with panic.
There's people just running everywhere. Nobody knows where to go.
In under a minute, over 100 rounds are fired into the crowd. Concertgoers flood 911.
There's numerous reports coming in. We have 33 calls holding. It's an active shooter.
It's fireworks!
As the shooter launches his attack back on the 32nd floor, Campos, who is unarmed, continues walking down this hallway. He passes a room service cart with those surveillance cameras. It's either that or the sound of the stairway door that alerts the shooter. He fires through the door.
312 control.
Suddenly you're under fire.
Yes, I went to go lift up my pant leg and I saw the blood coming down.
Campos takes cover in this doorway alcove
312.
and radios for help.
Hey, there's shots fired in 32135.
The shooter turns back to the concertgoers below and fires over 250 more rounds in the next 4 minutes. Las Vegas Metro police officers respond to the scene.
Control, misadvising there are people down on stage left. We have multiple casualties. CSWs in the medical tent. Multiple casualties. Get behind cover.
But they too come under attack.
Can you see where it's come from? No.
Pinned down by automatic gunfire. The echo of gunfire through the strip leads to mistaken reports of shooters in multiple hotels. Deputy Chief Andrew Walsh responds to the scene.
Why would you have a kid?
Mm-hmm.
What do you use a baby monitor for?
Just to hear what he's saying, to spy on my kid, just keep him safe.
But spy on your kid from where?
From another location.
And what do you need in order to be able to spy on your kid from another location? A Wi-Fi receiver.
The investigation shows on October 1st, he orders room service and rigged surveillance cameras before he brings in a final batch of suitcases and locks himself in his room.
Yes, okay.
So who was on the other end of that receiver? Of the baby monitor camera that was set up and transmitting from inside Stephen Paddock's hotel suite on the 32nd floor? Why was the room wired?
I don't know. I didn't know it even was wired.
Yeah. So I mentioned all of this in my book, and these are questions that were never answered.
So
they lied and they said that he was in his room by himself, but the police transcripts that were released over a year and a half after the shooting show that there were 3 women in the room with him. You can hear it on the police scanner and the transcription, and I released these reports. Who are the women? How come nobody's ever interviewed them? Where are they?
Right now, there is still so much we don't know about the Vegas Strip shooter, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, or his motives. We also don't know if he acted alone or if his companion, girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, was a co-conspirator. We do know she has been located and taken in for questioning. Among the many interviews of witnesses, however, an unknown woman in the crowd made her way to the front row and told concert goers there, "You're all going to die tonight." This was about 45 minutes before the shooting began, according to the witness. The woman was then escorted out by security, and apparently nobody thought twice about her warning. Was this woman Mary Lou Danley, or somebody completely unconnected?
So does anybody have access to the baby monitors and the footage that was on those baby monitors?
No, the FBI went into the room and took everything.
Where was his female companion wife found? So she was not in the United States. That's the shooter's wife or companion was not in the United States at the time. Has she returned to the United States? Do we know anything about any contact that authorities may have had with her?
Well, we understand that authorities have spoken to her and that she was out of the country, and they don't believe that she was involved in this, and they have been in contact with her at this time, but it's our understanding that she was not in the country.
So the FBI did, if they did.
Somebody has it, yeah, but it's never been released to the public. The FBI has never had to go before Congress and testify about what happened in Vegas. You had a member of Congress, Scott Perry, go on Tucker Carlson's show when this happened and said that he had received an update, and I had broke this story too, that several members of Congress, right, had received a private briefing that showed that ISIS terrorists came in through the open border and, via Mexico, into Las Vegas and carried out that shooting. And you never had that congressman on Fox News again.
Almost 4 months since the Las Vegas shooting, the worst in modern American history. Still many mysteries and some new developments in that case. Just 2 days ago, a lawyer for the Las Vegas police indicated new charges could be forthcoming. Odd, since the only suspect is dead. Detectives, though, saying very little. Catherine Lombardo is an attorney representing the victims of Las Vegas. She joins us along with Republican Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, who says he's got concerns about how this is going. First to you, Catherine. What do you know?
Yes, we had court 2 days ago. It was the hearing for the press where they asked the court to release the search warrants, the affidavits, and all of the returns,
Right.
which means all of the evidence, right? And so what we heard was quite shocking and quite surprising. Now, you have to remember that Sheriff Lombardo with the Las Vegas Metro Police has told us at his briefings that Stephen Paddock was the lone shooter. He was the only shooter. However, at the hearing, we heard two things. One, that there will be no indictments coming for any murder or shooting. However, they are investigating other charges and crimes. They wouldn't say who. They wouldn't say what. The entire courtroom took a gasp and looked up and went silent for a second. Even the judge reacted, and the judge said something like, okay, without telling me who or what, are you saying to me that there will be other charges forthcoming? And the lawyer for the police said, yes, there are other charges being investigated. The judge pressed him on that, and he said within 60 days. So what the judge did was she asked him for further supplemental briefing to explain to her what that contains, who it is, what it's about. You see, we're asking, and the press is asking for the documents, the evidence to be released, since there is no ongoing criminal investigation.
Well, that would be nice, and answer basic questions such as how is an interior door locked inside the hotel suite? Congressman, you're the only member of Congress I'm aware of who's taken a public position asking questions about this. What are your questions?
Well, I smell a rat like a lot of Americans do. Nothing's adding up. It's been 4 months, as you said. The man's dead. They said he's a lone gunman, lone shooter, yet we can't get the autopsy results. But even more troubling than that, recently I've been made aware of what I believe to be credible evidence or credible information regarding potential terrorist infiltration through the southern border regarding this incident.
Terrorist?
Yes, sir.
That's on video, too.
I'm just at a loss for words right now. I don't understand how this happened, and it happened under Trump, and he wasn't trying to dive deeper down that rabbit hole.
Well, you know, it is really interesting because then President Trump, right, he banned bump stocks, or at least tried to ban bump stocks until it was ultimately shot down. But people said, oh, wow, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for bump stocks. And then President Trump said that he was going to ban bump stocks. But it has nothing to do with bump stocks. It had everything to do with ISIS.
Yeah, because they're trying to say one man was able to shoot one-handed and shoot multiple weapons with because he had bump stocks. And there's not been, like in this entire time since this happened, there's not been one independent journalist that has tried to hear your stories.
No.
Is this it?
So this video, you can see the timestamp on it, was from 5 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this was, of course, around the time of the Las Vegas shooting.
I smell a rat like a lot of Americans do. Nothing's adding up. It's been 4 months, as you said. The man's dead. They said he's a lone gunman, lone shooter, yet we can't get the autopsy results. But even more troubling than that, recently I've been made aware of what I believe to be credible evidence, credible information regarding potential terrorist infiltration through the southern border regarding this incident.
Terrorist?
Yes, sir.
Connections.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the outline of that?
Well, they could be, let's face it, ISIS twice before the attack. ISIS warned the United States that they would attack Las Vegas, I think in June and August, and then after the attack claimed responsibility 4 times. Meanwhile, the local law enforcement investigative services are telling us there is no terrorist connection, lone gunman. Something's not adding.
Well, that's part of my confusion. Catherine, can you just confirm that this investigation is still being overseen by state?
She's dead now.
So, wait, what?
That lawyer for the families, she's dead now.
So I also heard when I interviewed Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower.
Yeah.
Like he was going into like some crazy stuff about this. Like there was 10 eyewitnesses who were standing next to somebody that, like when they got hit with a bullet, like it wouldn't have been coming down. It would have taken them down.
Yeah, they were saying that there were people in the crowd. And there was a lady, too, that was arrested right before the shooting that said, you're all going to die. You're going to die in a terrorist attack tonight.
An unknown woman in the crowd made her way to the front row and told concert goers there, "You're all going to die tonight." This was about 45 minutes before the shooting began.
So tell us a little about these stories, because he was saying that there was 10 people that were eyewitnesses that magically died within like a month after this happening.
Yeah, a lot of people, it was really weird. A lot of the people who came out afterwards and said that, oh, I saw a multiple shooter, or oh, this lady was saying that people were gonna die. Like people were just dying in freak accidents.
Everybody's still in shock, and understandably so. More than 500 injured. You can't wrap your head around something like that.
It doesn't feel like Vegas. People come to Vegas to have a good time. They come to Vegas to forget everything, to do things that they wouldn't normally do elsewhere. Vegas doesn't feel like that anymore. It just feels spooky. When you walk down the strip and you see the vigil and you see the posters of the people who died and all of these candles lit, it's forever changed.
I think there's a lot of people that knew people at the concert. They feel terrorized.
Sheriff Lombardo comes out and says, oh no, now we looked at everything again and the timeline was wrong, and now we think that Campos was shot just about the time the gunman opened fire.
So now the LVMPD's changed the timeline a third time, well, here comes the LVMPD actually. The security guard, Jesus Campos, he was supposed to talk to 5 members of the national press, and he just mysteriously went disappearing, vanished. Nobody knows where he is. Things are just getting stranger and stranger in this case.
I've had sources literally tell me I'm scared for my life. I can't continue talking. There was a report that just came out the other day that said that concert goers and witnesses of the shooting, when they collected their phones that were confiscated by the LVMPD, they received their phones and it was completely scrubbed. Like they didn't have any pictures, no video. Law enforcement made an effort to make sure that the pictures and the video of the event were taken off people's cell phones. Why would they do that? What are they trying to hide?
Somebody died in a car crash. One of them had a car explode. One of them died in her sleep at night. So you can look it up and you'll see a lot of stories about people who, were coming out, right, as eyewitnesses after Vegas and they died.
This comes from Erin Spencer asks. She says, the reports have said multiple people reported multiple shooters. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, and that's something that has come up a few times. And, when things like this happen, you get so many varying accounts, especially early on and people are trying to piece together exactly what happened. And the investigators were asked about this late last night at their last press conference, and they said that there was no truth to any of those rumors. Everything, from what they've seen, there was just the one shooter perched on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Debtor Hassan asks, why was the police response took so much time? The response was late more than an hour. I'm not entirely sure about the timing of an hour. What we do know is that as soon as the gunshots went off, there was a lot of confusion as to where it was actually coming from. I mean, people knew they were getting hit, people knew they were under attack, but they didn't know from where. We have another question here from Leslie King. Have you seen the video of fire coming from the 12th floor? What did they say about that? Unfortunately, I don't have much to say about that, Leslie, because I haven't seen the video personally. We do expect investigators to give an update later today. And we will hear more about people kind of piecing together just what was going on in that hotel room. But right now, that's not a detail I can speak to.
Wow. So now they were saying that this guy had snuck guns like in a gun case up a back stairwell.
Yeah.
Right? And walk us through this part. Like where did it go from here?
Yeah, so basically people were like, how did he get all these guns into the room without anybody noticing? And Steve Wynn, who used to actually own, right, MGM, which was, Mandalay Bay was a part of MGM Properties at the time, right? It used to be owned by Steve Wynn. He was on Fox News shortly after the attack happened and said, well, in my hotels, nobody would ever be able to carry up guns through the service elevator. And he let it slip.
Journalists Laura Loomer and Mike Turber walked right into the hotel service elevator unchallenged.
Thank you, ma'am.
The two rode the service elevator to the 32nd floor of the hotel and back to the ground floor about 4 times last Thursday. They made their trips at 10 in the evening, the same time 1 October shooter Stephen Paddock opened fire on the crowds below. Police say this is the same service elevator Paddock used to transport his arsenal to his hotel room. No one challenged Paddock as he rode to the 32nd floor, and no one challenged Loomer and Turber.
Housekeeping employee literally just saw us get into this elevator and smiled at us. Nothing, we're going up to the 32nd floor. We just walked in, right past security.
Which there basically wasn't any. There was like,
Mind you, there's a camera in here too, right behind.
Loomer posted the video to her YouTube channel with a clip of a Steve Wynn interview taken after the shooting.
No public person has ever walked in the service elevator unless they were accompanied by security.
To drive her point that the lessons of 1 October have not taken with MGM.
Mandalay Bay and MGM Resorts haven't taken any efforts to really improve their security measures, despite the fact that the worst mass shooting in U.S. history took place on one of their properties.
there is no indicator on these doors that tell you that the doors are for service elevators, for housekeeping only, nothing, as you can see here. Nothing at all. And there's no lock on the door. It's open.
Mandalay Bay has seen Loomer's video. In a statement to Fox 5, they wrote, "We are carefully reviewing the video in our constant efforts to evaluate and refine our security procedures. They might want to look at this video too. This is Mike Turber making the same trip through the hallways and up the service elevator, something he said he's done 27 times since the 1 October shooting." Loomer has ruffled some feathers at Metro and MGM with their reporting on 1 October, but she says this isn't about her, but exposing a serious ongoing security flaw from a company that should know better.
When you have an attack of this caliber taking place in one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, you would expect the casinos, which have billions of dollars to spend, to really, implement stricter security, especially given the fact that a lot of people are probably inspired by this attack to carry out their own attacks or acts of terrorism.
And then people realized, oh, they carried the guns up through the service elevator.
So what is a service elevator? That's an elevator in like the back of the hotel where just staff mainly uses?
Yeah, it's an elevator used in the back of the hotel that's large for maintenance to come down and the cleaning ladies, and he was able to go through the service elevator.
And he's given the VIP treatment, allowed to bring his luggage up through a service elevator. Over the course of his stay, he makes several trips to his house in Mesquite, Nevada, and brings in case after case after case of luggage. 21 suitcases in all, full of guns and ammunition.
So, where is this service elevator located in the hotel? And you and your friend actually...
Yeah, so it's on the lobby floor, and you have to walk around one of the hallways, and then you just go through a door. And when this happened, right, the MGM Resort said, we don't let people in the service elevator, but then obviously, it turned out that he did go up the service elevator. So then they said, we're really sorry. We're gonna make sure that we have security so that this can never happen again. And 4 months after the fact, right, they didn't have security. And so my friend and I decided that we were gonna test it. So we put on a hidden camera and we brought a black gun case with us around the same exact time that the shooting happened, right, around 10 o'clock at night. And we carried the black gun case up to the 32nd floor. And we went in through the service elevator and nobody stopped us. And it didn't have a gun in it at the time, it was empty, but we wanted to kind of replicate everything. Yeah. A man and a woman, right, going up to the service elevator to the 32nd floor. They had said that the 32nd floor was completely locked off. They had also said that on top of the floor being locked off, that nobody was able to go up the service elevator, but we did. And the video made the news and we played it. And then the victims' lawyers and the family members who had retained these lawyers issued a statement saying that they were going to be utilizing that video in their case against MGM. And then MGM had to come out and release a statement. And then after that, I found myself banned from MGM Properties.
Wow, so now you're banned from MGM Properties for
telling the truth.
Corruption.
And they actually fired the news director too. They fired the news director from the Fox 5 station out there because she allowed for this clip to be aired. And they were actually going to hire me, like the Fox station out there, they were going to hire me to come work because she was so impressed by all of the different scoops that I was getting and my reporting. And then there was a total coup in the newsroom, and they decided to go after the news director and have her get fired because she wanted to offer me a job. Because all the news stations in Vegas are sponsored by the hotels and the casinos.
I mean, I believe that 100%, but it just blows my mind the length that these people are willing to go and the power that they have to just, in a snap of a finger, just anybody for any reason, you're gone.
Well, that's cancel culture, right? And I remember too that the only time I've really ever been scared, I was sitting in a taco place called Roberto's Tacos, and my phone rang, and it was the FBI. And they were trying to get me to come into their office in Nevada because they wanted to find out who my sources were because they were so pissed off by my reporting. And I told them, I said, no, I'm a journalist and I have source protection and I'm not going to do this. And I remember going back to my hotel that night, I was so scared. I couldn't even sleep because I thought that somebody was going to kill me. I thought that somebody was going to like come to my room, and it freaked me out.
And did you have any friends in Vegas, or were you there by yourself at that time?
I was there by myself.
That is really scary. Like looking at the amount of people that they've just made disappear.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to make me disappear in Vegas. It was scary. Being out there by myself.
I can imagine. I think some of these stories just blow my mind that you broke all these by yourself. Almost every single one.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Like what happened after Vegas? This shit is just fascinating to me. Like I could listen to this all day, and I think everybody else is gonna wanna listen to it all day.
Please do me a favor, make sure you guys reach out to your friends. Tell them to invite Laura on their show for a podcast. She needs more support. The injustice that's been done. Could you imagine having your entire life destroyed? She went to school, got straight A's, became a valedictorian, worked with Project Veritas. She's broke some of the biggest scandals in American history. And if there's one person you can thank for Hillary Clinton not being president, it is Laura Loomer. So if that isn't reason enough to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, I don't know what is. Do her a favor, share this, tweet it out, tag her at Laura Loomer on Twitter. She's the best and greatest, most legendary conservative journalist of all time. Coined the term Loomer. Show her some love. Tell her that you want more Loomer videos. Help fund her, donate. We're gonna leave links to a Bitcoin address down below. And I would appreciate it if you guys could support her. Anything raised in this Bitcoin address, I will personally fly out with all my gear, and we're gonna do some crazy Loomer stuff. So show us some love, help support the channel, help support Laura, help support me any way you possibly can. And that's it, that's a wrap. That's game over, legendary, end of story. Love y'all, I'll catch you guys in the next one.
There's ways to go, ways to leave. Been thinking about them